Meditation unlocked my manifestation, and it can yours too. I slept on meditation for a really long time in my life. Over the last year, I have been transforming my life by rewiring my brain, and it's changed it all for me. But the one piece that I was missing in my puzzle was meditation. I don't know about you, but meditation has always been something to me that seemed like an old guy with kind of swami clothes with his legs crossed in the lotus position, tuned out from everything in life, kind of hovering, floating in the air. And I really didn't desire any of that. Meditation has freed me up than any other single practice in my emotions, in my mind, in my connection with others, in my entire life. And I'm going to help you today figure out how it can do the same for you as we look at how meditation works. Hey guys, this is a great time to subscribe below if you haven't already done it. I help you with concepts like this all the time, and I want to help you even more. Early in my journey to changing the way I think and look at life, I had the good fortune of stumbling into Dr. Joe Dispenza's book, Becoming Supernatural. I've read several of his books since then, followed a lot of his practices and meditations, and so many other things that he has learned after 30 years of research in neuroscience into how our brains work, tracking what our brains and our hearts do in real time by being able to connect people to scanners and check out what's going on with brain and heart wave activity, and how we can absolutely change our life through changing our thoughts and our beliefs and literally our energy that our body puts out. Now, a big part of that for Dispenza and for me nowadays is meditation. As I said, I put meditation off for a long time because I thought it was just this boring, out of touch, maybe on the other side of the world practice that I just didn't get. Let me tell you, was I wrong? Meditation works and it can change your life. I want to show you today some simple strategies on how it works. Actually, I want to give you 7 keys today to how meditation works and how it will absolutely change your life. Now, let me tell you first what meditation is not. Meditation is not closing your eyes and zoning everything out around you and trying to plug into some weird feeling or some weird force and spending 8 hours a day doing that, quitting your job. That is not what meditation is. Meditation is tied up in these 7 keys, these 7 principles. And when you start to practice it on a regular basis, you're going to rewire everything you've ever known, and you are going to change your life. Now, the very first principle is going to be the real key, the foundation that all these other principles are built upon when it comes to changing your thought patterns and changing your outlook and changing your life through the practice habitually of meditation. And it is rewiring your brain. When we begin to rewire our brain to a new kind of thinking, we start to transform our lives. This is kind of where it started for me about a year ago. I started with the practice of gratitude. I began to get up in the mornings before I would let my feet hit the floor, and I decided I was tired of living by my have-nots, and I wanted to start living through a series of my haves, and I wanted to acknowledge those. So before my feet hit the floor, I began to list 5 to 10 things that I was grateful for. It could be big things like my family, a great job, great friends. It could be small things. Some mornings I would thank Source, God, Energy, Universe, whatever you believe there. I would be grateful to that cosmic force for nice, cool sheets on a hot day or nice, warm covers on a cold night. Little things like that. And I started practicing this attitude of gratitude to start my day, and then as I would live my day. And as I did that, I began adding to that practice positive affirmations. Now, positive affirmations are something that I still do, but positive affirmations, as we're going to see, alone will not change your life. It doesn't matter how many good thoughts you think. If you don't have these 7 principles connected together, and meditation is going to help you to connect them, you're going to miss out on the bigger picture, and you're going to miss out on manifesting the life of your dreams. But it started there for me. And those morning gratitude sessions that would carry on throughout my day, and those morning affirmations started making me look at my life in a different way. My brain, I instructed it to say, hey, brain, no longer am I going to look at my have-nots. I'm going to look at my haves. No longer am I going to look at my limitations. I'm going to look at my expectations for the future I want. And as you tell your brain to do these things, you literally begin to rewire the neural pathways in your mind. Dispenza's got a great phrase that he uses that literally is a principle in neuroscience, and it's this: neurons that fire together wire together. And what that means is when you get the traffic of your thoughts all flowing in the same direction in your brain, they create new superhighways in your brain. It's kind of the way you respond to things. If you'll notice, you have a kind of typical response in your life to whatever life throws at you. For me, used to, it was outburst of anger. I was a pretty nice, positive person overall. Anybody that knew me would say, oh, Jim's so nice. But when I would have a little encounter like at home with those that knew me best, and I would drop something on the floor or break a glass or something like that, I would just go ballistic and I would be angry. I would slam cabinets shut. I would say fatalistic things like nothing ever works for me. And that's because I had all this bottled up rage and negative thinking that nobody saw, that was literally the subconscious hardwired hard drive in my brain. That's what was really there. And I knew I needed to rewire that first and foremost if I was going to change my life. So your knee-jerk response to whatever comes out in your life, those things that bring you stress, that kind of shake you up, that's your brain wiring. That's those pathways. That's those highways you've set up over time in your brain. And whatever you're sending thoughts down those highways are going to continue to exist until you build new superhighways with new thoughts. And then those pathways literally shrivel up and die in your brain, and you rewire your brain and you experience new neural pathways, new thoughts, new beliefs, and you start the journey to your brand new life. You can do it. I've done it, and I know that you can do it. Now, the second principle, after you've been rewiring your brain, is breaking, and this is kind of a tough one, I'm going to be honest with y'all, habitual patterns. We have to start breaking habitual patterns in our life if we want to rewire our brain and live in a whole new way. You and I are creatures of habit. And the reason that is, your brain likes to run along familiar tracks. Your brain loves what's comfortable. That's where it really wants to go, and that's where it's going to really try to take you. And you're going to see you start to try to rewire your brain, whether it's through gratitude, positive affirmations, meditation, a combination of all these. Your brain's going to fight against you initially because it likes to stay on that familiar track. So as you rewire your brain, you're going to have to break some habitual patterns that you've set up in your life. When you get up in the morning, maybe the first thing you do is you pick up your cell phone and you start to scroll. And for you, maybe it's social media. Maybe it's guys getting hit between the legs with baseball bats. Maybe it's the morning news. Maybe it's all the negativity. News is negative. I don't care what network you listen to. It puts negativity because they know that that's what our brain responds the best to out there on the airwaves. And maybe you start your day with all that. If you want to rewire your brain and think in a new way, you're going to have to break some of those habitual patterns. And it starts by creating new patterns in your life, saying, no, when I get up, I'm going to do my attitude of gratitude checklist. I'm going to do some positive affirmations. I'm going to meditate. I'm going to read. I'm going to journal. Whatever it is for you that works the best, you've got to break some habitual patterns in your life if you really want to begin to change it all. That is the second principle in meditation that's going to help you create the life of your dreams. Now check out this third principle, because this is a powerful one. The third principle is letting go of your known self. We've got to be willing to let go of our known self. Now, what does that mean? That means the person you've been until now in your life, you've created with years and years of the same thinking. Did you know that you have about 60 to 70,000 thoughts per day? And of those 60 to 70,000 thoughts, for most people, the average person, 90% of those thoughts are the same thoughts you thought yesterday. You're running in a loop even when you don't realize you're running in a loop. That's why you respond to stress the same way generally. That's why you respond to things that depress us and cause us anxiety in the same way naturally. most of the time you have those same responses because you've programmed your brain, you've wired it over time. They say it takes about 30 years to fully wire it, but in the first 7 years of your life, you're getting a lot of input and you're really kind of setting the main framework. And then we build on that, and whatever we're taught, whatever we believe, however we grow up, and however we come to believe about ourselves, we create this known self. Now, if you want to change it all, meditation is going to help you to do that, but you're going to have to be willing to let go of this known self and say, my known self is not my real self. Because the truth is, most of the thoughts that are negative about yourself that you think, and you have a lot of them because the negative usually outweighs the positive. We don't really train our brain in the right way. Most of those thoughts aren't even true. Those thoughts that tell you you can't, why can't you? Those thoughts that tell you, no, you don't have enough money to do that. Why can't you get enough money to do that? Those thoughts that tell you, no, nobody's ever going to let you do that. You're not popular enough. You're not cool enough. You're not nice enough. You're not beautiful enough. You're not thin enough. All of those thoughts rolling in your head are lies you've told yourself. It's your known self. Are you ready to let go of your known self? I guarantee you meditation is going to help you to do that. So you let go of your known self. And then the next principle is what Joe Dispenza calls this. I love this. It's heart, if you can read my writing here, brain coherence. Heart-brain coherence. When Dispenza gets together with a group of people for one of his events, and some of them are weekends, some of them are week long, they literally hook scanners to their heads. They really literally measure heart waves and brain waves, energy coming out of your body, which you do put out energy if you did not know that, like about a 3-foot field around your body. Your skin is not the end. You're a creature of energy, and your energy is literally coming out of your body on a continual basis. That's why they hook you to all those little probes when you go to the hospital. They're outside your body, but they're reading electrically what's going on inside your body. When we meditate, and we really start to move down from those alpha and beta, or beta and alpha waves, into those theta waves, deep meditation. Our brain waves go to what they call a theta wave, where it smooths out and it starts to get coherent with our heartbeat, and our heart syncs up with that same wave pattern in our brain. We get what Dispenza calls heart-brain coherence. You get in a place of bliss where your body inside, heart and mind, are in a coherent state of being. You move from where most of us live most of our lives, from fight, flight, or freeze mode. That's a temporary mode put in your body by source, by evolution, by wherever all that comes from over time, to help you get away from that big jungle cat out there in the jungle back in the day that was meant to be very temporary, but we've made it very permanent. And to escape that, to get out of that, we need heart-brain coherence. And meditation will help you achieve that, especially at the start or the end of your day. And it'll help you to learn to feel that, know what it is, and to practice it throughout your day. So heart-brain coherence happens when we meditate and we turn off the outside world and we tune in to all the great things that we can be and we want to be by focusing on our intention rather than our present circumstances. So heart-brain coherence is huge. Now, what happens when we get heart-brain coherence in a meditation? What happens next is we have a quantum field. I love this. Connection. We connect to the quantum. Now, what is the quantum? The quantum is the energy field that permeates the universe. 99.99999, I think it is, percent of all that exists is empty space. That's when you shrink it all down molecularly between the nucleus of an atom and the electrons. It's what they call the electron cloud. It's just empty space. And we're finding now through quantum science and quantum physics that empty space is energy, and we all possess it. We're all made of it. In fact, my body is energy. It feels solid to me. I perceive it as solid with my 5 senses. But if we went down to the quantum level, I'm mostly empty space, and I'm connected to the empty space of space, and I'm connected to your empty space and you to mine. We are waves and particles all connected together in this quantum field. And meditation gives us heart-brain coherence. It helps us to connect to the quantum field. And when we're in the quantum field, there's no longer just me or just you. There's no Jim. There's no whatever your name is. We put aside all of this kind of earthly construct we've created in our mind, and we connect at an energetic level. And suddenly, in that field, in that quantum reality, anything is possible. Because the truth is, we live in a multiverse, kind of like in Avengers. There's not just one reality, there's multiple realities. What quantum scientists and quantum physicists figured out and telling us now, there's multiple dimensions and multiple realities, and they're all happening at the same time. And do you know what? When they do experiments out at CERN and other places, they have found about how the quantum reacts when we observe it. That reality that is not yet a reality becomes a reality when an observer observes it. Now, that's science that goes way over my head, maybe over yours, but it's basically saying until certain electrons in an electron cloud are observed, they don't appear. But when somebody observes them, that's when they appear. That means what we set our intention on in life, what we tell our brain to pay attention to set your intention on, those things come into reality, and we begin to attract them to ourselves. The more we meditate, the more we get our heart and brain in a coherent state, the more we send out a signal and we bring back a magnetic response, and we pull our reality we want to ourselves through the quantum field connection. Now, here's a secret that a lot of people miss when it comes to manifesting your dream life. Meditation is going to help you to do this. It's not enough to rewire your brain, to break your habitual patterns and your habits, to let go of your known self, to get your mind, your brain, and your heart in heart-brain coherence. Once you get connected to the quantum field, one key element gets left out. Here it is. Elevated emotions. When you attach an elevated emotion, an emotion like joy, an emotion like gratitude, an emotion like peace, an emotion like bliss to the thing that you want to manifest into your life, to that intention that you want to set out in front of you, you take this whole practice to a whole nother level, because it's that emotion, that feeling that literally attracts that desired future back to you energetically in that quantum field, in that universe of energy where that reality that you want exists out there. When you elevate the emotion, you're now attracting that thing back to you. So you have your heart and your brain, your emotions and your mind working together to send out a signal and saying, that's the life I want, and then bringing it back to yourself. Now, what is the seventh thing? What's the final step? This is the part that's great in meditation. When you've taken time to get in a deep meditation, you've done the breath work, and we don't have time to go into the steps of meditation and how to actually do meditation. We'll do that in another video, but this is all about how meditation works out there in the world and what it does for us. But as you get tuned in with breath work and with tuning out and tuning in to this quantum field, you need to begin to picture yourself living as if the life you want is happening now. Right now, your life that you want is taking place, living as if it's happening now. And when you begin to do that and visualize that over and over, daily and repeatedly, you start to send a signal out into the quantum field. This is the life I want. And guess what happens? That signal goes out, and when your heart and your mind are in coherence, a magnetic pull begins to pull that reality into your reality, and all kinds of wild things start to happen. And I promise you this works. Quick, small example. Since I've been doing this work, since I've been meditating and changing and rewiring my brain and letting my mind and my heart get in coherence, some weird synchronicities have happened in my life. Now, I've had some big ones, but I have a lot of little ones on a daily basis. I was with a customer the other day, and I'm in sales in my current career, and we were going over some things, talking back and forth, and we got into a conversation about coaching. And this guy has a coaching certificate from another entity, and he started telling me about it. And I didn't want to get too weird with him because he's a customer, but I shared some of kind of my coaching. He was asking me like, what's your emphasis and kind of what do you work with? What's your thought processes? And I was telling him a little bit about some of this, but not going into a lot of detail. And he said, well, here's kind of what we teach and the group that I work with. And he said, everything is energy. And he started to go into it. And I started to smile and he kept talking and I kept smiling. And before he was done, I said, I'm sorry, I'm smiling. I'm not laughing at you, but just what you're telling me is exactly what I've come to understand over the last year. And it's what I'm sharing with others, like I'm sharing with you right here. And I would have never met or talked to this guy a year ago. I guarantee you it would have never happened. We'd never had the conversation. He'd have been another customer that came in and went out, hopefully satisfied, but we would have not had that connection. That's one little thing that I've drawn to myself, and I've done it multiple times. Not only am I changing my life big picture, I'm changing it on the daily basis, little picture, again and again and again. And you can be doing the same thing. If you haven't already done it, subscribe below for more content like this. If I can help you on your journey, I do this all the time here and share with you these concepts to help you get it. Screenshot this if you need it so you can go back and think about it later on in your life today. But follow along if you haven't. Tell me in the comments, what do you think about this stuff? Because I know where I was with you a year ago. I thought this was all just a bunch of crap. I said, this is not real. This is not going to work. This is not how it happens. I've come to understand now that that is absolutely not the case. This is reality, guys. And when you plug into it, it'll change everything you know about your life.